Hello and welcome to another video on Satisfactory. Today we will see my setup of 720 Alclad aluminium sheet. My entire setup except for one or two recipe, everything is an alternate recipe which I got from researching hard drives in MAM. I will show you what I did. This is not how to do video, instead I am just showing off my setup. For Alclad Aluminium Setup, we need bauxite and water as the main inputs. As you can see from the map, I am getting the bauxite from a pure node in this location, and bringing it to my starting base located in Greenlands at the bottom. I am using a Mark III miner at 200% getting 780 resources per minute. Initially I got the Mark III miner resources from Awesome Shop with coupons I got from syncing resources till now. This is because I wanted to start tier 7 and 8 with maximum amount of level 5 belt, and it was the best way to proceed. Now from the 780 bauxite I am getting, I am splitting the resource into 4 using a splitter. The first 3 lines has 200 each and the last line has 180. I have marked the last line a bit different for me to identify the line having less resource. Now, for the water, I am bringing from the same location in 4 different pipes with same amount as bauxite I am splitting. Basically, 203 pipes and 180 in last pipe. I am splitting my setup into different phases. And this is phase 1. I am using sloppy alumina recipe, which takes 200 bauxite and 200 water to make 240 alumina solution. Since we have 4 lines, 3 lines are set at 100% and the last line at 90%, which I have marked with blue pipe. This last refinery takes 180 bauxite and makes 216 alumina solution. I have written everything in the notes which you can see in the right side of the screen. This stage takes in 780 bauxite and 780 water to make 936 alumina solution in 5 refineries. I am also bringing in a line of limestone to make use of the byproduct in our third phase. Now to our second phase. We take the alumina solution from phase 1 and make aluminium scraps. Here we use the alternate recipe electrode aluminium scrap, which takes the alumina solution and petroleum coke to make aluminium scrap and water as byproduct. To these refineries, we are directly feeding the alumina solution from the previous phase and passing it here along with petroleum coke. Only to our last refinery, we are setting it at 100% because of the bottleneck I have in my setup. Even though we are getting 216 alumina solution, I am having only 60 petroleum coke remaining, so I had to leave the remaining 36 solution to waste. We can get the petroleum coke from refinery. I have already set up at a different place for a different setup and using the remaining. You input 40 heavy oil residue and get 120 petroleum coke per minute, and it is easy to set up. Now, all the other 4 refineries are overclocked to 133%. I could have introduced a new refinery, but it would complicate the setup and I am okay with overclocking. Before going to the next phase, let's see what we did in this phase. We took 936 alumina solution from phase 1 and 300 petroleum coke to make 1500 aluminium scraps and 525 water as byproduct. Let me move to my next set of notes in my notes section in Satisfactory. We will take care of the water in the next phase. If left or stored will stop our entire setup. Now to our next phase, phase 3. Here we make concrete with the water from previous step. For this we are using an alternate recipe called wet concrete, which takes 120 limestone and 100 water to make 80 concrete. Since we are getting 525 water and this recipe takes 100 water, we need a total of 5.25 refineries. So the last refinery is underclocked to 25%, making just 20 concrete per minute. Now to summarize in this phase, we take 630 limestone and 525 water from phase 2 and make 420 concrete. I am then storing them and sending the excess to resource sink. Now for the outputs of previous step, which is 1,500 aluminium scraps. This already comes out in 4 lines as we have 4 refineries. And I have colored the last line as that makes only 300 scraps per minute. I am sending all these 4 lines to phase 4, which we are going to discuss next. I am also sending a line of copper to make copper ingot for our phase 5, which I will discuss in some time. So let's move to our next phase, which is phase 4, where we make aluminium ingots from aluminium scraps. As you know, 3 lines are having 400 scraps and 1 line is having 300 scraps. For this phase, we use the alternate pure aluminium ingot recipe, where we take 60 aluminium scraps and make 30 aluminium ingots per minute. So in this focus of single line, where we get 400 scraps, 400 divided by 60 is 6.66 smelters. So we have 7 smelters, and one of the smelter is underclocked to 66.66%. So, to see how many ingot we get from a 400 line, we multiply 6.66 into 30, which is 200 ingots per line. So for the second line of 400 scraps, I am sending this line above the current line using merger and lift and sending it down to another 7 smelters, where one is underclocked to 66.66%. Now for the third and fourth line of scraps, each having 400 and 300 scraps each, the third line having 400 scraps is once again sent to 7 smelters, with one being underclocked to 66.66%, of which you can see here. Now, for the fourth and final line of 300, I am sending it above and below using conveyors to make this setup. Since we have only 300 scraps, 300 divided by 60 is 5, so we need only 5 smelters running at 100% each. So now, all 4 lines of aluminium scraps totaling up to 1,500 scraps has been smelted to aluminium ingots successfully. Let me move on to my next set of notes for my next phase. Now, let's move to phase 5, where we convert copper ore to copper ingot. We are doing this because, in order to make Alclad aluminium sheet, we also need copper ingot as shown here. This is phase 6, which we will cover in a second. Now, in this phase 5, as you saw just a second ago, every assembler takes 30 aluminium ingot. Since we make 750 ingots, 750 divided by 30 is 25. So in total, for 25 assemblers, and each requiring 10 copper ingot, we need 250 copper ingot for this phase as output. But, because of some restrictions, I was only able to get 240 copper ore per minute. So we can only build 24 assemblers, and 30 aluminium ingot will not be used properly. In total, we are making 240 copper ingots. I could have used pure copper ingot, but this setup would have become complex, as they output 37.5 and it would have made it a little complex. I wanted my very first aluminium setup to be simple. So, I decided to set up 24 assemblers and settle for 720 aluminium sheets per minute. So, for this, in this phase, I am getting an input of 240 copper ore per minute. And output 240 copper ingots per min. I am sending both aluminium and copper ingots to the next phase to make sheets. Now, to the next phase, phase 6, where we make Alclad aluminium sheet. This recipe takes 30 aluminium ingots and 10 copper ingots to make 30 Alclad aluminium sheets. If you remember, I am using 24 constructors for this. And in each line I am using 12 constructors and feeding them as I am showing here. So we have 2 lines of 12 constructors, totaling 24 constructors. I am merging all the 720 aluminium sheets together and I was sending it to the storage. But now, I am using those 720 sheets along with copper sheets to make heat sinks in the next setup, as you can see here. If I had proper petroleum coke and copper ore, I could have made 780 sheets per minute. But I am content with 720 copper sheets, and it's more than enough for my storage and heat sinks. The setup you see here in the left is for aluminium casing. I have it currently switched off, as I need aluminium sheets more than casing. As you can see, the aluminium casings require aluminium ingots. And since every constructor requires 90 to make 60, and in total we make 750 aluminium ingots. Here I forgot about extra 30 which we are not using and made calculations. So, 750 divided by 90 is 8.33. So I have set up 9 constructors and I have underclocked the last one to be 33.33%. Now, if I switch on this power switch, all the Alclad aluminium sheets and copper ingot setup will be switched off, and the aluminium ingots will be used here making aluminium casings instead. So, in total 8.33 into 60 is almost 500. So I merge them and send it in the same line as Alclad aluminium sheets and store it for use. Since I have prioritized making heat sinks, I have already stored enough casings in my storage, and it will be rare to power this setup. In future if I need more, I will introduce a new line of bauxite to make this. Now, I have saved enough because aluminium casings is used to make blenders. And my next setup requires blenders which I will do it in a few days to make cooling system. Those heatsinks which I am producing now, along with high-speed circuit and few others, I am making radio control unit, which you are seeing in the distance. And these manufacturers are what is producing high-speed circuits. I think it is 65 per minute. After that setup, I made a high-speed circuit blueprint, which I have also put in a separate video. I will use them in future. And these powderless liquid and turbo fuel, I have made a separate video as well. Do check them out. Now, this is my setup of 6 phases, to make 720 Alclad aluminium setup. This is not perfect and at 100%, but this is what I built and this is what I am showing you guys in this walkthrough. As I said in the starting of this video, this is not how to do, but instead this is what I did. And thanks for sticking till the end. If you like this video or found something new from this video or something interesting, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more content like this in the future. Do leave a comment if you want me to check or change anything or anything you want to discuss. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.